You got Mac and Mac here with you on Birds 365, Jody McDonald, John McMullen, and that would be Chris Franklin from NJ.com, good enough to jump on board with us. You were laughing at me, weren't you? While you were in the green room.
I was laughing at my Jeffrey Lurie scapegoat conversation.
I'm laughing at both of you because it's almost like mom and dad are fighting again. Yeah. And I always see it every time. It's great.
We always fight when Chris is here. We weren't really fighting, though.
Don't know why.
I know, it's fun.
Is that on you, Franco? Do you make us fight? Absolutely, positively not. Got nothing to do with it. You get none of the blame whatsoever. Who's going to get the blame for the fact that Haasan Reddick wants the hell out of Dodge? Is that the coaching staff from this past year, the collapse of the team, the fact that Howie Roseman probably, well, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm sure Howie was working behind the scenes to see if he get an extension done. All he knows he didn't, and it reached a point where he had to grant him the availability to go out and see if he can get himself a trade. Is there blame to go around is the question I guess I need to ask.
I think if you want to blame anything, you blame, stick on the 49ers teams. Blame Nick Bosa for getting paid big time. You blame Haasan Reddick for getting as many sacks as he did. You blame Howie Roseman for not having enough cap space right now and having other guys you have to sign. I think it's a perfect storm when it comes to Reddick and his ability and basically what he can earn because he's earned it. I'm sorry, 27 sacks in the last 2 seasons. There's not many guys that say they can do that. The Eagles also have to keep in mind that they're keeping in mind they still have to pay Devontae Smith. They still got to extend Landon Dickerson, and they still got a lot of other moves they have to make. Sure, they can create some cap space, but yeah, I think it's this whole thing of him asking for a trade. We could be headed down to another Darius Slay situation right now.
Yeah, and then Darius Slay worked out, so it's not the worst thing in the world to say, hey, you know what? Go look at the market, and then the player feels better and feels that the franchise isn't trying to undercut him. And if his value is what his value is, probably if I'm the Eagles, I would probably hope 18, 19 million versus 25 million. If he goes out there and finds that out, all of a sudden it works out for the Eagles like it worked out with Darius Slay. That's a possibility.
Yeah, and if it does, and it's the thing's going to be the compensation package, in my opinion. When you look at what they actually get in terms of receiving that trade back, because I think it was over the cap last I looked yesterday. It goes $1 million if you trade him. Basically, if you want to trade him for a draft pick this year, you get $1 million in salary cap relief. If you do it post June 1st, it's something like $16 million.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where
you got to wait. Yeah.
And then you don't know what team you trade him to, and then is it going to be really worth it? So there's a lot of factors going in. That's what more and more I think of it. I think we're headed toward a sit-in. I just think we're headed toward that.
Hold in. I said, Chris, he should have held in last year. And remember, he showed up with a groin injury, and there were some people speculating because there were other players around the league holding in. There are significant fines, so you can't hold out anymore. You can, but you're going to lose significant money. But a lot of players held in. And I thought Haasan, to be honest, the leverage was never going to be higher for him. 19.5 sack season. Eagles made the Super Bowl. Clearly the best player they had on defense was, I think, 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. I really thought he should have held in last year and really pressed for whether you want to call it an adjustment of the deal. It didn't have to be an extension, but he was underpaid. He was vastly underpaid. Everybody knew it. Instead, he was professional. He played. It's not necessarily a good thing because teams will take advantage of that.
Yeah, he betted on himself, and you had to think, especially if you sit with that most of that defense returning, except for say the safety stuff. You think okay, should be about the same type of production, and it slipped up, and it's going to cost them. We talk so much about how these guys are. Well, they don't honor. You hear, they don't honor the contract. This guy did, and it backfired. So you see now why it's going on for a lot of guys.
I never criticize players when you got to take advantage of your moment. You got to, because you never know what's going to happen. And they regress so badly on defense. Not just Haasan, but he also broke his thumb early, so he was playing with the cast. He wasn't effective. Then you had to move to Matt Patricia late. He wasn't effective then. In between, he was great. He had he had 11 sacks in 10 games
weeks,
or whatever. Yep. Yeah, 10 weeks. He was great, but you had the two sort of piece, that was sandwiched in the slow start and the slow finish. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to get on the open market what he thinks he's going to get, and that'll help the Eagles in theory.
Yeah, but here's the problem, and you guys just were discussing it, taking a step further. The hold-in, which could very well be coming. John suggested it'll be 12 months late. Should have done it last year. If it happens again this year, it is a possibility. Somebody's got to be the massage person in that. Somebody's got to keep him motivated to continue to play well, not be a disruptive influence, not wreck the clubhouse, and let him know that he's still the huge part of the defense. Doing the massage thing. Is Vic Fangio that guy? Who the hell is going to do that for the Eagles? If it comes to that, they could trade him. They could get a contract negotiation done, or the third option. And the third option is realistic. It's not minimal. It's realistic. Trying to play through it. Who's going to handle Haasan Reddick to be able to keep it doable in the Eagle clubhouse?
Your best option is Nick Sirianni, because when you look at everything,
something to do, right?
Somebody call McManus and tell him that's going to be Nick's biggest job is keep Haasan Reddick at least somewhat focused playing football for the Eagles next year.
And when you look at the jobs of head coaches, I think that's the most underrated, the thing that's usually glossed over most. Because a lot of times when you talk about it, you want the X's and O's guys, you want the guys who can play call, you got the dynamic names, stuff like that. Well, a lot of these guys, we've seen a lot of times when it comes to these coordinators that become head coaches, they have issues when it comes to talking to a lot of their players and trying to handle situations like this. So I think this is going to be the biggest test for Nick and stuff like that. Is we know he's not doing the play calling or offensively or anything like that, but managing situations like this is probably why he still remained as a head coach, and he took that CEO role, so he can handle more time to do stuff like that. Because it's just, it can become very volatile very quick. Especially now, the one thing that they have going for us, and we saw this last year when it came time to say Haasan had opportunities to really blow up and say you know what, I want to do this, or I think this, because he's pretty much, he speaks his mind a lot, and when he stays away, he's like, you know what, I'm not going to put this team in a situation, because he'll say I'm just not talking or something like that. So this is going to be one of those things where Nick has to handle this well, and if not, we'll tell very early.
Well, we're talking about one star player. Let's talk about a second star player. Let's break some news this morning, Chris. Jason Kelce's retiring. Let's stop this. He's not coming back. He's out there in a lucha libre mask celebrating Travis Kelce's win. He's meeting with Fox. He's meeting with Amazon. He's meeting with ESPN. I don't even think he even wanted to play. I think this week in Vegas wrecked him to the degree, to the partying, to the degree he couldn't come back. He's retiring, isn't he, Chris Franklin?
See, the biggest indicator I'd have is if by now he told the Eagles, hey, drop my salary down to $1, and so free up the cap because all this stuff going on. I honestly don't. I think there's a serious shot he comes back.
Oh,
really?
I think
there's a shot.
Chris, I did the flop thing. I was very much in the camp of Jason's coming back after he met with every broadcast outlet on the planet, and any ones he missed will all be in contact this week. And then the interview he did on the Chris Long podcast where he said, Eagles, 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 didn't say we once, never once referred to the Philadelphia Eagles as we. Man, I flopped this weekend. You're holding tight. He's coming back, huh, Chris?
It's not tight. It's a thin strip, but just a wait. Because I think he would.
You're a glass half full guy. God bless you, Chris Franklin, for sticking to your guns. I'm a flip flop artist. I just absolutely did a 180 this weekend.
By the way, unless Jordan was trolling, Jordan Mailata flat out said it out there. He said, "No, man, he's not coming back." Jordan, telling the truth or trolling.
Well, the thing that I would probably say is if that's the case, let the team know sooner than later, because I know you're Jason Kelce. You've been with the franchise for this long. It's at the point now where you got moves coming. You got to move forward and
I think
mentally prepare that too.
The Eagles now. I think the Eagles.
What day does the New Heights podcast drop on? Is it a given every week, or do you just have to?
Yeah,
find it?
they probably taped a couple out there, so they may have had a taped one. So it's usually Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere around there. But
So this Tuesday is the 13th. Write it down, February 20th. If it's going to happen on a Tuesday, it's going to be the New Heights podcast after they get the celebration podcast in this week and give his brother all his props for back to back and three-peat and blah blah blah. And Taylor looked great in black and everything else. They'll do all that this week. Next week it'll be Jason's turn to go. Yeah, I'm calling it a career.
Yeah, the more and more, if it looms into March, if it looms past the combine, that's where I'm starting to see it a little more.
He won't do that to the Eagles.
He shouldn't. I say he shouldn't. He shouldn't. That's the main thing too.
Yeah, I think the Eagles already know, to be honest. But we'll see. I mean,
you think he's lying to us all?
No, he's not lying. I think he wanted to, let Travis have his run and go out on his own. Like what Adam Schefter reported. Yeah, I mean, Chris was there. Lane Johnson talked about it like he was pretty much done. He told guys he was close to during the season. Now, as Chris also knows, he's done that before in the past, and he's changed his mind. So I can't say he's not going to change his mind, but boy, everything is pointing towards he's not coming back this time. Which, the Eagles need some cap money. It's not the worst thing in the world. They've set up for this. Cam Jurgens going to be the heir apparent. Who knows who's going to take over at right guard? It might be Tyler Steen, might be somebody else. But when you talk about these other people you have to pay, you mentioned Devontae Smith, Landon Dickerson. Now you got to figure out something with Haasan Reddick. Silver lining, you don't have to pay $15 million to Jason Kelce.
Yeah, but you got to make sure you couch that correctly. They're not saving $15 million. Jason Kelce's got one of those extended voidable year deals where when he steps aside, they're taking a dead cap money hit. So it's not going to be a $15 million savings. I don't have Kelce's contract in front of me, but I guarantee you they're taking a dead cap hit the day he decides to retire.
I'll look it up real quick. Ask Chris another question while I look it up.
Chris Franklin, with Haasan Reddick needing to check his worth on the open market, who do you think is going to be willing to bump him up from 15? I'm saying low 20s. He's not getting up to 25. The Bosa money, both of the Bosas are blatantly overpaid, and he's not TJ Watt. Nobody in the National Football League is TJ Watt. Let's say low 20s, 21, 22, somewhere thereabouts. There are guys that are being paid that Haasan Reddick has been more productive than. What teams should we be afraid of? What teams will the Eagles be trying to negotiate a deal with that one of them will give Haasan Reddick the type of number he's looking for?
Being that I think they want to really make a splash, and they're still reeling over the coaching decision they made because they did look at it. The Commanders, to me, Commanders like, you know what? We need to make somebody here. What better way to go ahead and try to take somebody from divisions, guy who has the pedigree that shows that you lost Chase Young. Yeah, Montez Sweat and every guy.
And Montez Sweat. They traded both of their pass rushers.
So you think you got to figure that first one too. Why not sign for Haasan Reddick? You got the money to do it. You can do that to cachet. You might get everybody that one too. Why not go sign him down that way too? And then now all of a sudden you can create a dynamic where you're looking south like, okay, we got to protect Jalen Hurts. Well, we got to see Haasan Reddick twice a year. You got to see Micah Parsons down twice a year. So it just makes things worse. So the Commanders might be the one that everybody uses to go leverage. Go, hey, you know what? Hey, we'll sign him. We're empty that one too, and they use his leverage, and then he just goes somewhere else. But yeah, I think the Commanders team is going to be linked to it eventually.
That's legit.
Yeah, that makes some sense because obviously, and by the way, Chase Young had a good Super Bowl for about a quarter, and then kind of fell off. But well, we got to get Super Bowl talk in with Chris as well. Boy, it's come out this morning that a bunch of 49ers players admitted they were not made aware of the new overtime rules. When I was watching it in the moment, Chris, I got the feeling like San Francisco had no freaking idea what was going on. I got to be honest with you. They're like, "Oh, we won a toss in overtime. Let's take the ball." I think that's what they did, and they're like, "Let's take the ball." And now it's more of a college setup. Both teams are going to get the football, so you want to be that second team because you want to know what you have to do, and all 4 downs are on the table.
Yep,
it just makes sense. Is that the feeling you got immediately?
I think a lot of people didn't know. A lot. And
I know.
I think the people watching the game were better versed because they were told before the game than it was actually the players on the field themselves.
Yeah.
Because especially Mecole Hardman was like, wait, what? I thought the game was going on. Oh, wait.
All truth in advertising. I'm being 100% honest here. My hand on my microphone, my other hand on my heart. I had forgotten. Now, as soon as they mentioned it, and I said, "Oh my God, how the hell can they take the ball first?" It clicked in. Now, I'm not playing in the game. I'm just doing a stupid show with John McMullen and Chris Franklin and Glenn McNair, whatever else. It's not my job to remember that they changed the rules. But as soon as I was reminded, I knew exactly what we were supposed to do, and Shanahan didn't. How can you do that if you're the head coach of a Super Bowl team?
It's just one of the many things when you look at Kyle Shanahan's coaching career. You're going to look back and go, he's the biggest what if. He's become the old Andy Reid in a way, in the fact that when it comes to crunch time, when it comes to a lot of like in a big moments or anything, there's always a gap. There's always a timeout issues. There's always whatever you, and then it leads back to bite him in the butt. Shanahan. His system, I look at Shanahan. His system is great. He can get these quarterbacks going.
The play designs are brilliant.
Yeah,
but,
great.
At what price?
Yeah, you're sitting there looking like that, and that's why I think he really needs either a former head coach to be his assistant coach, or he needs to hire or an assistant, whatever, to tell him game situations because he's like that guy who's like developing the program. He's like, well, I can put this line in here. I can put this line. Hey, the fire alarm's going outside. Oh, I can get this line. Okay, I'll get it right for you. And then next thing you know, like, oh, wait, it's smoke. I got to figure something out. He's panicking. So,
well, here's the name, Chris. August Mangin. You probably first. I did not know that name until this morning when I looked it up. He is the 49ers game management specialist. If the 49ers are anything like the Philadelphia Eagles, you're going to see the name August Mangin fired in the coming days and weeks.
I remember before I got on, you guys were talking about scapegoats. They're your scapegoat.
Yeah.
He's the one.
Yeah. He's got a big picture of goat on his back. Mahomes has got a goat on his back, but it's a different goat.
He's a better one.
Mr. Mangin is. And by the way, and I don't know this, one of you two should, I guess. Who's the Eagles game management specialist?
That's a good question. It used to be our buddy Ryan Paganetti. Let's see. That's a good question.
3 years ago, right? That was under Doug.
Yeah, that was Doug's guy. And he's by the way, he's in Jacksonville with Doug now as well. Now, TJ, his brother, is still on the Eagles staff. Well, he might not be now as the Eagles staff is getting blown out. Let's see if they have an official game. Now, remember, Nick Sirianni considers himself a game management specialist.
He studies a lot. Yeah, like studying everything and trying to the situations things So.
I mean, and obviously Kevin Patullo's his right-hand man, but he doesn't have that title. I'm seeing if anybody has the actual title.
Titles are fluid in the National Football League.
Nobody had the actual title last season.
I think a lot of it falls on Nick. A lot of it does because he studies a lot, and Furtis he studies a lot of game managers from all the way through college, all the way through, and tries to put that.
Yeah, and as a CEO coach, he has because remember, I maintain one of my pet peeves is people are calling, well, Nick will be a CEO coach. He already was a CEO coach. So
coach does,
he wasn't getting bogged down by the play calling since he gave it up to Shane Steichen. So he should be the game management specialist.
Yeah, CEO coach shouldn't need a game management specialist.
Exactly.
So I agree with you there. Did you ever find out how big a hit the Eagles are going to take if Kelsey walks away, how much rollover?
You know,
dead cap money they have?
it's not, you know, if you look at it, over the cap gives you cuts post June 1st. It wouldn't be a cut, it would be a retirement. So I emailed somebody real quick and I see what the difference is. Now, if you cut them pre June 1st, which they're not going to do, that's why
Right.
it's not relevant. Then you have you lose 14, 15 million in cap space. If you cut them post June 1st, you gain 1.5 million. But retirement's different. And I got to figure out how that affects it because I think that helps the Eagles, the retirement.
As do I, but not,
It
it doesn't just disappear. You can't make it wave a magic
No,
retirement wand and
it
make
doesn't. But I
disappear.
do think it changes the complexion. And that I just emailed a contract guy and hopefully he'll get back to me, but don't have it right now.
Gotcha. All right, Chris Franklin, what is the next step for the Philadelphia Eagles? They probably still have a spot on their staff or two. They've still got to work out, but I think the staff is close to being set. We got to wait for the combine before we start to look at the guys that the Eagles position. Eagles are going to have to. Oh, here's a question I want to ask you. Here's one that John and I, the parents, fight again. Johnny Mac is all but guaranteed that the Eagles are taking a right tackle with their, or just a tackle. I got to give him.
No, I'm playing the
right
odds.
and left sides.
No, I
He's playing the odds. They're taking a tackle. I'm taking all others other than. If you had to make the call, and yeah, I'd have to give John a little some odds here that I'm getting the wider field. He's getting the very narrow field. What position do you think the Eagles will be using? And no, this is a completely unfair question because 97 things can happen between now and the day one of the NFL draft. What do you think position the Eagles most likely going to select come round one in the NFL draft?
Well, I had them taking Lamarius Mims out of Georgia because I thought he's a athletic tackle going at. But given that the news that just happened yesterday, knowing that you have a big depth problem at edge rusher, if you really do trade him, which I don't, but just in case, even beyond this in the future, I think you start looking at edge rushers. I really do.
Well, here was my thought process. And if you look at Daniel Jeremiah's early top 50, and the Eagles started 22, there's a lot of caveats to this. I said, if the Eagles stay at 22, which we know Howie can move up, can move down, but if they're forced to stay at 22, I think Daniel had 8 tackles between number 9, who was Joe Alt, and I think Mims, who was like 17th or 18th. And I'm thinking to myself, there ain't 21 teams. There's no way 8 tackles are going to go before 2022. So a really good player is going to get pushed down the board. And that's sort of how the Eagles work. They'll say tremendous value. We got to think about the future with Lane Johnson. So I think it makes sense because there's so many tackles in this at the top of this draft, whereas there's not as many corners. They need a corner. Obviously need a corner, but there aren't many. So everybody else takes corners. There's like 3, 4 potentially. You're out of luck. SOL. Same thing with edge rushers. There's not as many. Yeah, they'll need an edge rusher with it, but if nobody's there, you got to take the right player, right? You got to take the best player.
And see, part of me is, and one thing that I'm really looking at, because I really like Latu out of UCLA. I think you're going to need to trade up to get him. I know you have a lot of needs here on this team, and you got 4 picks in the top 100, or at least projected with that 3rd round pick from Hargrave compensatory. I'm looking at moving up. I may be dangling that the 3rd and 1st, see who wants to take it, so I can move up a couple spots to go ahead and grab Latu. If not, if Mims is gone, and now why am I blanking on the other guy that was from the other big tackle? I'm blanking on his name now.
Tyler.
Yes, I got Oklahoma.
Oklahoma guy to
and that's
Oklahoma guy.
And Lane's been mentoring him. Yeah, so he's already got a little Stoutland teaching.
Yeah, he's got that. If he's going that one too, I might be trained back and taking Chop Robinson, the edge rusher. I'm looking at a guy like that. So
Yeah, Reddick would
personally, I'm gonna give
change
the guy one.
everything. If they do move Reddick, obviously they're gonna have to, whether it's free agency, they're gonna have to find a more proven commodity
But
than
given
Nolan
right now,
Smith. Yeah.
yeah, but given right now,
Although,
give the trade stuff, the trade cap hit and everything else, I think it's more likely it's going to be a tackle though.
And you got to do what you got to do. And I think that Howie is proven over the years that he certainly acknowledges that. But 3 years, 4 first-round draft picks, all of them on the defensive line, that doesn't look good. If you keep swinging for the thing, and you got to go back there again, you've taken 3 defensive linemen in the first round over the last 2 years, and you got to go there again. He will, because if it's necessary and Haasan Reddick's situation unfolded the way it did, he'll do it. But it sounds like, what the hell? Why can't you get yourself a defensive lineman in the draft? And they're going to be banking heavily on Nolan.
they got one last year with Jalen Carter. Inside though, at C Franklin News, speaking of Jalen Carter, last one, NJ.com. Make sure you follow Chris, does a tremendous job. Fletcher Cox, man, he was on Cam Hayward's show. Where's Fletch? Is Fletch coming back?
I thought you were going another direction with the Fletch stuff because I saw what he posted on Instagram.
Yeah, well,
I was like, oh yeah, my
I think that was a positive because unlike Jason Kelsey, as Jody pointed out, Jason Kelsey's distancing himself. No more we. It was the Eagles. Fletcher Cox was sort of like on Instagram saying, keep the Eagles out of your mouth, Debo. He's talking like he's still an Eagle. Is there a chance Fletcher's back?
See, I don't know. In the same way, like, and don't talk both sides of my mouth here, but listen to the way Jordan Davis did and how
Jordan was like he's gone.
Yeah,
he's gone.
I think the teammates are just throwing their teammates under the bus. Mylotta, see you, Jason. Nice knowing you, big guy. Fletcher, good job, bud. Enjoy retirement. What the hell? Why can't the Eagle guys try and suck their teammates back in rather than wish them well in the rest of their lives?
Well, Jordan Mylotta, because of his personality, might have been trolling a little bit, but Jordan Davis, yeah, as Chris pointed out, he was upset, thinking about it, emotional,
very,
because he's, been his mentor. So
maybe that carries. Did he buy him cruise tickets so he can enjoy retirement, so he can take a cruise around the world?
I don't know if he wants to retire, but I think he wants another 8-figure contract. And boy, if you're the Eagles and you have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Milton Williams, at some point you got to play those guys and you got to build on those guys. As good as Fletcher was, and I thought Fletcher had a good season, sometimes you got to turn the page.
The last thing they want to do is be in 2017 mode all over, 2018 mode all over again, where you paid a lot of these guys based on sentimental value, and we saw what happened on that. But yeah, I think Fletch wants to play another year. I truly do. And when you look at it, I just don't know. Like if he's commanding, he may get it too. Like he's another $10 million or whatever. I don't think it's going to be here. I think it's going to be somewhere else.
But
Kansas City.
Mark my words. Haasan Reddick will get closer to the top of the market than Fletcher Cox will. Fletcher, and Fletcher had a really good year last year.
But Fletch deserves another $10 million contract. Yeah, Haasan's going to be
$10 million fall into defensive tackle market.
No, but it's a lot for a 34-year-old defensive tackle. That's a lot. And when you have 3 other good ones, I don't know if you can afford that again. That's my estimation. Plus, you want Carter playing more, and you want Davis playing more, and even Milton Williams, you want him playing more. So they have good players. Unlike edge rusher, they have good players ready to take over.
Agreed on that. Chris Franklin, thank you very much for coming on with us. We love having you, and we'll talk to you again, if not next week.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, this is our 700th show, and you're a part of it, Chris Franklin.
I'd like to thank you guys very much for the opportunity. I'd like to thank you guys. It's a great show to be on, and no, I'm serious. Congratulations to you guys. You guys do great stuff, and I hope all the other viewers see the work you guys put in. It's really good stuff. And I thank you very much for letting me be a part of it.
You should be honored. Now go down to Wawa and see if they give you a discount because you were on the 700
Yes.
bird tree. They're gonna go.
Damn right.
Excuse me,
Just
$1.99.
do me a favor.
Small coffee,
Before-
$1.99.
Yeah.
Meatball sub, nah.
Before you do that, make sure it's free coffee day, and then pretend.
The
It's
only way you're getting a discount if it's free coffee day. Good stuff, CF. Thanks, bud.
Thank you,
bud.
guys. Appreciate it.
Follow ChrisNJ.com. Following the birds day in and day out. All right, McMullen, McDonald coming back. We're early, late. We will put a bow on the show, though.